Good morning. Sorry for the noise of the coffee machine. So it's the morning after the night before, isn't it? It's the dawning of the new budget, and it's not gone down well. Now, the interesting thing is going to be how the Labour supporters get round this, because if you look at any feedback or any reporting on what happened yesterday, the words spiteful, tax raise, money grabbing, lying, vindictive, that they're all floating around the ether. And there's nothing that reads Rachel Reeves delivered a budget for the working people. Not one headline. There is criticism left, right, and centre. Now, this does not come as a surprise because she has raised hikes. This is the biggest tax grab I think I've read since the Second World War. Own it. Ultimately, own it. But she hasn't. So now it's the bit where everybody dissects what was actually in the budget. And several things that are jumping out. First of all, obviously, the cuts to the two-child cap. Now, that's being the headline promoted by Labour because that's the good headline that's popular with the voting public. Also, they thought, because what's happened is the principle is popular with the voting public. The practicality is not, because there's no money to fund it. So as that dust settles, there's an awful lot of people who are in agreement with getting rid of the two-child cap, not in agreement with doing it in 2025 when reserves are low. So that's the first thing that's backlash that I think they weren't expecting. Electric cars. Now, it doesn't sound much, 3p per mile, and I think it's coming in 2027. It's massive if you've just bought an electric car. And it's, again, off the back of, hang on a minute, you're giving us grants to buy them, but then you're charging us more to use them. How does this work? We're being told that electric is best. We're being told that we need to move to electricity and we need to get rid of diesel and petrol cars, yet you've now found a way to tax them. Now, in the diesel and petrol market, people are saying, well, hang on a minute, it's fair. We pay tax on our petrol and diesel. Why are you not paying tax on your electric car? And that's not an invalid point, other than the fact that we are promoting electric cars as the saviour of the planet. So therefore, why are we promoting and actively asking people, begging people, persuading people to buy them, yet punishing them when they've bought them? You can see how people might feel a bit let down by that. You can see how people might feel they've been sold a dummy. Then schools. You know I'm going to get onto schools. And I'm going to read you a direct quote for this because this is important. Neil O'Brien says, quite a big correction by the OBR here. Reeves has nuked schools' budgets but somehow forgot to mention it. Now, schools. They are underfunded. There are many, hi Stan, there are many groups. Sorry, there we go. You could be doing very important politicking, but when you've got a tabby cat that needs a drink, it has to stop. Hang on, there you go. He doesn't like the water flow too. There you go. Got to get it just right. That's for you, Stan. What do you think to the budget? Yeah, my thoughts entirely. So when you've got a Labour government who have said that the school system, the state system is in disarray, the state system has no money, the state system has been killed by the Tories. Now, factually, that's incorrect. Factually, as far as standards are concerned, that's way off the mark. We had Rachel Reeves talking about schools like mine, and the assertion of that was that her school was not a good school, despite the fact that her school is an outstanding school. And while she was at it, it was a very high-achieving, well-performing school, and it was the Harris Trust that made that school into what it is today and what it was when she was there. So Rachel Reeves went to a good school. So we're confused as to why she says schools like mine. But I can only draw the assumption, and it is an assumption, that schools like hers means not independent. So they've drawn that division line. You might not have done it, I might not have done it, but they have drawn that division line. And schools like mine refers to state schools, which in Rachel Reeves' mind are not as good as independent schools, which as we know is utter rubbish. Many state schools outstrip independent schools, simple fact. So we're not quite sure why we're making those comparisons, but we are. But what we do know is that the independent sector has been, got to be careful with my words here, has been targeted to financially save the state sector. So the independent sector had VAT put on it, and we were given removing tax loopholes, all that kind of jazz, which factually didn't stand up. Grammatically, it's incorrect. Technically, it's incorrect. But we were given that line because people weren't supposed to question it, and we were also given that line and then told that it doesn't matter anyway whether you agree with it or not. The money raised from VAT is going to save the state system. Well, the money raised from VAT has not saved the state system, so they have not got what they thought they were going to get. So that's the first bit, but we'll park that for a second. Secondly, the probably actually at this point in time a more important part is that we're talking about an education system that is on its knees. We're talking about an education system that is desperate for rejuvenation. That's all we hear, and we've charged the independent sector for that. We've cut school budgets. So yesterday, Rachel Reeves cut the core school budget. So let's let that settle. And if we think about all of the media that is thrown in your direction about free school meals, about breakfast clubs, about having better life chances if you have a state school breakfast, all of those things, budgets have been cut. That raises so many questions on so many levels. We are extolling the virtues of a good education whilst cutting the money to deliver it. Fast forward to the bit where the unions get involved, there will be more strikes. We can read the best. So I think the nutshell of it, and this is all going to come out over the next, goodness knows how long. I mean, budgets go on forever. I used to remember when the budget was on the television when I was little, and I would groan because I knew that this was going to be the narrative in our house for quite some time. And I didn't appreciate, I don't think, how important it was to my parents, and I didn't appreciate how it affected them quite as much as I do now that I'm doing the adulting stuff. And it is miserable. And the long and the short of it is, not only are we living out the misery of what it's going to mean for us financially, and for most of us, this budget is important from the top line on finance. You know, there's obviously the morals and the politics underneath it, but most of us are just affected financially by this. And we're not in a position for that not to hurt in some way, shape or form. And I think the majority of us feel like we're working people. We're working people in our definition, that we go out and we work hard and we pay our taxes, or we used to go out and work hard and we're now struggling to find a job because we've been made redundant since this Labour government came in. But we are, in our ethos, in our belief, in our central system, we believe we are working people. And the working people of our electorate understanding has been hammered every which way and how by a Labour government who said they were on our side. They said they were going to support the working people. And yet here we are, yesterday, in the Houses of Parliament, doing the very, very opposite. And interpretation is key, but we've got to the bit now where there can be no misinterpretation. Even Beth Rigby, who is, you know, Beth Rigby does a lot of reporting for Sky TV, and I would say that she has sympathies with the Labour Party, perhaps, my opinion. She has said, government said it wasn't going to raise taxes on working people. Today it eats its words. 26 billion in tax raises, making tax burden to the record of 38% of GDP by the end of Parliament. Welfare reform ducked, 2 child cap lifted. This is a budget for self-preservation of the country, not the country, said a cabinet minister. And I think that sums it up. This is a budget for self-preservation. This is a clear indication of where Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have put their careers and their selves first in front of an entire nation. Now, you and I know that's not going to go down well, is it? You and I know that we've got quite a lot to say about that, and this will come out over the next few days, and I look forward to sharing it with you, and I look forward to hearing what you've got to say, and I think they don't look forward to hearing what you've got to say, but we are at a point now, and I said this yesterday, we're at a very, very clear crossroads. And for those of us that have not enjoyed the spoils of the Labour government to date, I think we are going to see change. And I think we are going to see positive change. And I don't think that that's going to come overnight. I don't think that's going to be as soon as we sort of go to work this morning. But we are going to see a change, because this is now publicly untenable. And that was the bit that we needed to get to. And we did. So I'll leave you on that. There's Christmas lights going. They're not the Christmas lights, they're the all year round lights, but I have, my big box of baubles. In fact, I'll just show you. Look, come and see what I did with them yesterday, because I wanted to put the box in the recycling. So Operation Bauble has started. I'll leave you with that. Have a good Thursday. I will speak to you soon.